She's always welcome here. She's my former co-host, the wonderful Alex Phillips. Hi, Alex.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Look, before we get onto the issue that I want to discuss with you, we've just had on, I've just interviewed, you know, Lucy Connolly, the housewife who's doing 2 years and 7 months for Hurty Words on Facebook. Now, just had her husband on, Ray, for 25 minutes or so, and he's a very laid-back, understated kind of guy, but you can see that family, he's trying to bring up his 12-year-old daughter on his own. He has to take her to the prison. They're going through this shocking trauma, and all she did was post some nasty words on Twitter, on X. Now, two years and 7 months. She's 8 months into that sentence, and there's no sign of any remission, no sign of them even letting her out on licence to see her little girl. And Ray said they're still making an example about her. She is still a victim of two-tier cares, two-tier justice. This is a disgrace, isn't it?
I'm sorry, but just saying she's a victim of two-tier cares, two-tier justice, it doesn't even go far enough. This is wicked. This is evil. This woman, when you learn of her personal story, the loss she had faced of her own baby, the child, the parents of children who she fostered and looked after, who said she is amazing, she is gracious, she has cared for those children, she's one of the most warm and compassionate people. The stresses she had in her own life when she put something online, so upset, and then deleted it, thinking as a normal person would, gosh, maybe I overspoke here. That should not have resulted in any custodial sentence at all. That is any decent, normal, law-abiding, heartful, emotional person just doing something instinctively, and even then having that moment where you go, oh, I'm going to delete it. I probably shouldn't have said that. That is not a prison sentence. That is human erring. That is a simple little human error that meant no harm. Yes, she has been used as an example, but they're compounding it. They're making it worse. She is now separated from her own daughter. What effect is that going to have on the child who cannot see her mother? Her husband, who you just spoke to, who himself is battling medical conditions, her livelihood destroyed, and she's not even allowed out on what would be normal leave to go and see family members because they say, well, you know, you're too high profile now. It will cause too much of a stir. You made her high profile. You made her an example. This isn't just a case of somebody being used as a pawn in a game. This is genuine wickedness. This is evil.
It really is. And when she said, well, look, can't I even get out on licence to see my kid? 12-year-old Edie is their daughter. You know, there's one or two problems with her because, you know, she's reacting badly to the fact her mum's inside. So the family said, could she just come out and see her kid? Oh, no. Why is that? They said to her, well, you're Lucy Connolly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is wicked. She shouldn't be in there in the first place by anybody's standards, writing an angry message to nobody on social media. She wasn't inciting violence. She wasn't issuing instructions to go and do things. She just wrote something out of passion and anger and then deleted it. Yeah. There is no way that for me is anything. It's not even the police coming to knock on your door, let alone a 32-month prison sentence where you're not allowed out on licence. It is pure, unadulterated evil. And this needs to be spoken about a lot more. And congratulations to Alison Pearson, who's the one who did the interview with the family in the first place and actually has campaigned for this woman relentlessly. It is a disgrace that this is happening in our society. It makes me want to cry. The lives that are affected, her daughter, her husband, her livelihood, her own life, the damage that this is causing, and yet we hear all the time of rapists and paedophiles and gun gangsters and under warlords who are all not being deported because of right to family life. Son doesn't like chicken nuggets. Oh, it'll be bad on their mental health if they go back to their home country because they frown upon rapists there. This woman's not even a criminal.
Yeah, she's got no criminal record, no track record of violence, nothing. As RAGES said, between the two of them, their entire criminal record is one of them's got 3 points on their licence. I think that might be Ray. That's it. That's it. This woman presents no threat, no danger to society whatsoever, but she's being kept inside as an example, as you imply as well, Alex, while they're busy letting out really serious criminals because the prisons are overcrowded. It's unbelievable.
It's chilling, because when you say this is as an example, because that could be you, Kev, that could be me, that could be anybody listening to this show right now. That if that can happen to that woman in the way it's happened, that could happen to every single one of us. And that is what is so dystopian about it. So when we're saying as an example, what does that mean? That means that we're supposed to now be living within the prisons of our mind. We're supposed to be regulated by our own fear, because we look at this poor innocent woman who is serving time in prison, having her life and her family's life destroyed, and think, if that can happen to her, it could be me. What sort of sick and twisted autocracy does that?
Yeah, exactly right. The Starmer autocracy, the tyranny of Keir. Right, let's get back to the subject that I wanted to quiz you about. It concerns the travellers community, the travelling community. Gypsies, some of them, others Romas, all that sort of thing. Now, you know what happens. The weekend, hundreds of them went hurtling through an area, a very leafy area of Surrey called Elmbridge, known as the Beverly Hills of Britain. It's where lots of very rich footballers live. But anyway, this is where the travellers come, riding their horses and carts, apparently 100 of them, causing mayhem as they spread through towns and villages. Now, they also want to go into various pubs, where sometimes, at the end of their tether, barmen and landlords ban them. It happened at the weekend. They went in apparently to one pub and deliberately, provocatively dropped bottles of beer onto the ground until the landlord or one of the bar staff said, right, get out. Now, this was one incident. Now, there was a story in the Daily Mail on Saturday, double-page spread, saying that hundreds of landlords right now are facing actions, legal actions, by travellers who say they're being the victims of racism. In other words, a lot of establishments, and I'm not condoning this, but they do have a tendency to say no travellers, or if they come in, they throw them out. Now, what is being suggested here now is that there's almost a concerted campaign to, shall we say, contrive accusations of racism. You've been racist towards me because I'm a traveller, and therefore I sue you. I want £3,000. In recent months, about 55 different establishments have suffered these kind of discrimination claims. They're being staged by a legal firm favoured by Jeremy Corbyn. Make of that what you will. But that is what is being suggested in the Mail, that more and more pubs are being deliberately targeted, whereby incidents are contrived, travellers are thrown out, then they sue the pubs and say, we want compensation because you're racist.
Right. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. We're talking about Lucy Connolly in prison for doing nothing, a law-abiding citizen who is giving back to the community by looking after other people's kids. And now you've got a group of people whose very way of life depends upon not being part of the civic social contract. They don't have permanent addresses, therefore they're not paying taxes, they're not on the electoral roll. They live outside of the boundaries of society, and the way they make their money is through casual employ. And that is to put things delicately and politically correctly. I think we all know how a number of people within that community seem to make a lot of money when they're not legally registered to pay tax and are not employees of firms. I think we all know the sort of things I'm talking about. And they can go and cause uproar. They can demonstrate willful, provocative antisocial behaviour, the likes of which Lucy Connolly did not even at a flicker suggest that she was thinking of. And then they cry, this is discrimination. And some stupid leftist lawyer somewhere has decided that this is a protected way of life, a characteristic that we must all bow down to and worship at the altar of diversity and progressiveness and tolerance. And therefore, people who actually do imperil the safety of a community, who do disturb the hardworking members of that neighbourhood who pay their taxes and actually cohere to social normatives, they run a rampage. They are on the wrecking ball through the middle of it all, and we're not allowed to say a thing, because if we do, we're the bad guys. This is the problem with 21st century Britain. It is topsy-turvy, it's upside down. We say it all the time, but when you put these stories side by side together, if that doesn't make your blood boil, if that doesn't push you to the point of saying things have gone beyond farcical, it's now dangerous, what will?
Yeah, exactly right. So there's a guy called John Riley, who was pictured in the Daily Mail. In recent months, he has named 55 different establishments in and around London, where he lives, saying that they are guilty of discrimination against him. This is one guy. What happens when these lawsuits go in, or these legal letters? So they usually they ask for things like £3,000 compensation, and if the landlords or the barman say no, this is rubbish, this didn't happen, they come forward with videos. They filmed the incidents that cynics would say they contrived to happen in the first place. This does seem like a massive, great scam, doesn't it?
Of course it does. And I'm going to mince my words here, but is this not part of their expertise, let's say? I'm beginning to think the only way to beat them at their game is to play it. And that is something I never thought I would say. I'm not the sort of person who wishes to conduct lawfare. I think it's disgusting. I think it's divisive. I think it's costly. I think it stretches human compassion and empathy and patience to the very edges. I don't think it's healthy or productive in a society at all. But I think I should start levelling lawsuits against the local mosque who won't let me go in because I'm not a Muslim, or because I'm a woman. I think I should start levelling suits against the gay club, which is a gay man's only joint, because I'm a straight white woman. You know, until we start levelling up and playing them at their own game, I'm not sure what sort of message is going to cut through. I never thought I'd say those words, because I think their practices are malign. I think they're negative. I think they're aggressive. I think they're destructive. But what other way have we got left to make our message clear?
Yeah, you know, I'd normally be very careful about a story like this. You know, just how strong is it? How prevalent is this syndrome? Well, campaigners say that these lawsuits, these racism lawsuits, being filed largely by travellers, are the biggest threat to the hospitality industry since COVID, since the lockdowns. So this is a phenomenal situation.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know where this all emanated from. I don't know. I haven't actually got the receipts for this, but I remember as an MEP in the European Parliament, there being a big push and a big campaign in the EU to recognise travellers as a unique category of people with special dispensations because of their, you know, age-old way of life. I'm sorry, that's a bit like saying, let's recognise the cat burglar as somebody who for generations has robbed houses and it's the only way he and his ancestors have made money. Let's recognise the pimp. The pimp is somebody who only knows how to traffic and prostitute women, so that should be a protected characteristic. I mean, it just becomes stretched to the point that logic can't even accommodate this sort of nonsense. That is not to say, if somebody is from a traditional traveller background, that they are innately bad or wicked, that they cannot be honest, that they cannot have gainful employ. But it is a life choice. to move around from place to place and not have a registered address and not pay taxes and therefore not contribute back into the society within which you still wish to claim your opportunities, your accesses and your rights. That is a lifestyle choice. Nobody's making those people do that. My sister went to live in a traveller's camp, okay? I don't talk about this very often at all. She went to live with New Age travellers, of which her mum was one, my stepsister. And my stepsister's gone on to be a brilliant law-abiding social worker. And when she was in that camp, she took herself to complete her education. She was surrounded by people who didn't want her to do it, and she went herself to do her A-levels, to get professional qualifications and then give back to society. So a lot of people who have lived in a similar environment have found ways and want to go and be part of a community and give back what they take. So I have very little sympathy with people who want this to be some sort of protected existence. And not only a protected existence, they go as far as to then push it and use discrimination as some sort of fortification against reprisal when they actually go out and willfully commit social disorder. That is abhorrent.
Yeah. I mean, there's no problem with their culture being a protected way of life. I've got no problem with that. But if they are deliberately contriving situations in order to sue poor pub landlords for fake racism claims, and the pub industry is saying it's the biggest threat to their industry since COVID, I think we've got a big problem here, because pubs could do with all the help they can get right now, and this is the last thing they need.
Well, if that is a bigger threat than Rachel Reeves to hospitality, I don't know what.
Well, you know, you can't say worse than that, can you? Alex, always a pleasure to talk to you. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much. Alex Phillips, fellow talk presenter.